We are taught to think of Abraham Lincoln as this progressive person, well ahead of his time, and most of all, an example of a white man who cared about black people. Was Lincoln a pro-black hero who did what he had to triumph over white supremacy? No. Lincoln said, if I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that. So here he's making it clear that his primary goal was keeping the nation together, and he would pursue whatever policy regarding slavery would best serve that objective. This statement reveals that Lincoln was not guided by moral absolutism about slavery. Instead, he was just being pragmatic about achieving national unity between the states. In fact, Lincoln wanted to resettle all black people to Cherokee, Panama. The colonization scheme ultimately failed for multiple reasons. In August of 1862, he presented a resettlement plan to 5 black leaders, but he couldn't convince them to go along with it. And why should they? This was just as much their country as anyone else's. Duh. Ultimately, Lincoln refused to allow 11 southern states to formally withdraw from the United States and become the Confederate States of America, a separate slave nation with its own government, constitution, and military. When the war effort needed a boost, Lincoln promised freedom to enslaved people through the Emancipation Proclamation. This promise boosted Union forces by allowing black enlistment, it weakened Confederate labor, and it added more legitimacy that secured international support. This calculated decision fundamentally changed the war's nature. So Lincoln freed enslaved people in order to win the war. Understanding this more accurate portrayal of Lincoln and the country matters for several reasons. It changes simplistic narratives. Moving beyond the great emancipator myth allows us to understand the complex political calculations behind even our most celebrated historical moments. It reveals the persistence of white supremacy. Recognizing that even Lincoln, often considered the most progressive white leader of his time, held racist views, helps us understand how deeply embedded white supremacy was, and remains, in America's institutions. It honors black agency. A more accurate history acknowledges that freedom came not just from Lincoln's benevolence, but through black people's own resistance, military service, and political pressure. It informs current racial justice work. Understanding that progress has never been linear or inevitable helps us recognize that meaningful change requires sustained effort against deeply entrenched systems. And finally, it encourages empathy toward people who aren't white. This includes encouraging white Americans to start thinking about things from the perspective of Americans and people in general who aren't white.